Hi guys, it's Amy with Aim to Plan, and today we're here talking about my November planner lineup. So there's actually going to be very little change from October to November. I will just caveat this discussion by saying that I was actually not really super in my planners in October, but I'm going to keep the lineup the exact same. You will see if you watch my October planner flip through videos how well or not well I use these planners. But today I'm really just going to be showing you all of the different planners that I have that I will be able to touch if I want to in November. And it's November, it's Thanksgiving, there's lots of things happening. And so there are certain planners that I play in a little bit more than others, and I'm okay with not being in every single one every single day. So, with those things being said, I will say also that there are two sets or like categories of planners that I don't cover today. I do have two memory books for my two girls, so they each have one. I don't flip through those, but I do have classic vertical planners for them, and I don't go through any of my home binder planners, or I guess like reference material. So all of those are just kind of like the permanent parts of my system. These are like the pieces that change day to day or month to month. And so this is what I consider my more like functional planner system, all the things that I personally use for myself. And again, I don't really hold myself to using it every single day in every single planner. So I've got a giant stack here. I actually have three on this side. Two of these are actually holiday planners, so we'll talk about that a little bit in this video. And then I've got a whole stack over here. There are multiple planners, and so I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. And the way I'm going to do that is actually to, I think, start with the holiday planners. So just moving everything over to the side here. I have two planners here that are a part of my holiday series or like my holiday planners. And so this black deluxe cover is for my Halloween planner. And then this one is going into the Thanksgiving season. And so everything for October is in this black one. Everything for November kind of ends here. These two also cover a lot of my fall events. So anything that's seasonal but not necessarily tied to Halloween or Thanksgiving, they end up landing in here as well. And so I'm making the shift today, November 1st, from the Halloween planner into the Thanksgiving planner. But there's actually another event that's happening, actually several events happening this weekend. And then an event happening next weekend that I consider more like Halloween related. So example being next weekend is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And so they're doing just like several weekend runs of a show. And so I put that in this Halloween planner just again because I think of it more as like Halloween related rather than Thanksgiving related. So I still am using this in November for at least the first couple of weeks. But just to kind of show you what I've got in here, it's essentially a like classic vertical holiday seasonal planner. Let me get to the page. So it's going to be just like this classic vertical. I'm going to redate here to make the pages for November to again carry into Halloween / spooky season for that last weekend. But I'm just going to do like just a quick couple of stickers and just make it cute so that way I can mark Rocky Horror and the fact that it's just an homage to Rocky Horror for that last week. And I'll be wrapping up that planner and moving into this planner. There are some like overlap in terms of time because there are notes that I've already started taking in here, like even like September, October notes that are in here that are just Thanksgiving related. And so one of the things I did here was, in fact, for Halloween, for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, and then for all of my seasonal / holiday planners, I did break down a planner. And so let me just get in here and show you. Actually, I took this one out, so I'll show you the 2026 one. But it's a classic vertical planner that was an 18-month planner. And I just kind of broke down the planner into like each of these like different months. So October went into Halloween, November went into Thanksgiving, December is in Christmas, and then January, February, I think maybe even March went into kind of like my birthdays and anniversaries one. I did break that down in a separate video, so I can definitely link that if you're interested. But again, it's the same planner that I was using in Halloween. This is just for Thanksgiving. And so I've got the classic vertical here, just ready to go. This is actually the 2026 pages. I have 2025 already pulled out because I'm in the middle of decorating those pages. And again, just taking notes, there are some overlap in terms of notes. But if you're interested in seeing what the pages look like after I use them, definitely watch my flip through video. I'll definitely be flipping through the Halloween planners for sure. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Now going into November, I'm going to show you actually two planners here. Okay, so for these planners, what I've got, this is like my catch-all. So I just showed you, I think really just to clear it off the table, my holiday planners. Now we're getting into the actual functional planning. So here, what I've got are like the planners that I use for catching all of the materials, like all the tasks, all the events, all the fun things. And so I've got here my weekly and my daily. So going into the weekly, I've already actually got it all set up for 2026 as well. I'm super excited about that. But we're going to go into November, and November, you can see here is kind of like a random half page, but I am using these like weekly pages. And I actually did not do a good job in October. Again, watch my flip through video and I can talk to you about like what happened in October, but I was planning to use in October kind of like this November 3rd through the 9th, the 10th through the 16th, the 17th, and so on and so forth. So it's like kind of like a 3-week glance for the entire week. And that was actually working well when I did try it out. I just did not do it well in October, but I'm going to go back to trying to do the same thing again in November. So I've got these like big vertical pages that are outdated. I did go through and redate all of them. And so this will be my weekly pages. What I do with these pages is pretty much just put it on a clipboard or like, hang it up so that way my family can reference this, because it has a lot of the personal notes, like family notes that I need to keep track of for my family. And so it's just a really great like overview of like the next 3 weeks. So the current week plus the next 2 weeks. And it just, I don't know, it just works really well. And again, a lot of family events are on here. Definitely with the holidays coming up, there's lots of things happening there. And so I just track that, and I am going to, I think for November, move it to the fridge and just stick it on the fridge so that way everyone can see that. So that's the first part of it, is that big vertical that I'm using as kind of like a 3 weeks at a glance. All right, and then the other part of my catch-all is my half letter. So let me get into November. I've actually started writing in this because I'm recording this a little bit later in the day on November 1st. But so I've got in here these daily pages. And so you can see here that these are outdated. So these are like May 2021. I did for 2026 already purchase this. So I'm definitely going to be moving into this with a current planner in 2026. But for now, for November and December, it's an outdated planner, which is totally fine. I'm just using basically the giant number here. So this is November 18th. I've already gone through and marked all of our major events. So these are the events that would also be in the weekly that I just showed you. So those events would be there. But then here I have those events marked by the dots. And then I journal or like log the big things, or even small things, all the things that are happening in my life. So if I'm doing errands, if there's something that's happening with the kids, I just kind of throw everything on these pages. And I really love this size. It's actually been working really well, but I love using the daily pages. And so I'm going to stick with it for November. This was definitely my October setup. It is also my November setup, pretty much envisioning that it will also be my December setup. I don't want to change it too much, especially before 2026. So this is the other half of my catch-all system, where I'm just kind of logging all of the things that are happening in those 30-minute intervals. And of course, keeping my to-do list. So you kind of saw that like right here on the side, I keep my to-do list. So that is the second half of my catch-all. Right, switching gears just a tiny little bit, the other major planner that I use pretty much all the time is going to be my work planner. And so I do keep a very, I guess, like clear separation between my work activities and notes and tasks and my personal stuff. And so what I just showed you with my personal catch-all, that's all the personal stuff. The only time something work related gets in there is you know, if there's something after school or something that's after like the normal typical hours that I'm working, like when I have my kids with me, I would note work related events in my personal planner for those reasons. But otherwise, you know, personal stuff doesn't end up in my work planner, and usually work stuff doesn't end up in my personal planner. I try to keep those as separate as possible. But this is a Live Well planner. It is dated for 2025, and I didn't actually start using it until like towards the end of 2025. And so, you know, it's getting to be like the last couple of months, and then I'm going to just go back to the beginning and start redating. And so what we have here is just a daily on one page. Not the exact same layout, but it's essentially just like a daily on one page where I have a breakdown of like 30-minute intervals, very similar to the personal planner. But here, what I do instead is kind of treat it as like 3 columns. So there's kind of like a faint line, which I know doesn't come across on the video, but there's like kind of a line right here that comes from the previous page. So it kind of shows through. And so I split this. So this column is usually my events. This one is like all the tasks that I've completed for the day. And then of course this is my to-do list, and this is my priorities. So these priorities tend to go from day to day. Tasks, I just kind of write it on the day, and then if I remember it again, I'll write it again. But usually I just try to finish or like make note of tasks and try to finish them and move them here. So all of these like different columns are how I structure my day, where I need to know exactly where I need to be in terms of a meeting. If I'm not in a meeting, I should be working. And so I'm looking over here to find something I need to do and trying to move it to done column. All right. And so that's kind of the format. I try not to work Saturdays and Sundays, so I'll go back because I did work today. I should actually blur that out. So let me show you a different one. So this is what a Saturday Sunday split looks like. I try not to work on the weekends. So, you know, if I have notes, if I have things that I'm doing, I'll write those in here as well. But I don't worry so much about like, of course, I don't have meetings on Saturdays and Sundays. I do complete things, so I try to like at least make note of the things that I'm completing or things that I think of that I need to do on the weekends. But typically I just try to keep my work week to Mondays through Fridays. And so I am still actually really loving this. I really enjoy using it. I did want to try to get back into meeting notes, but I think that might be a plan where I just kind of scratch that. I'm going to make a decision for 2026 for what I want to do for my work planner, because the meeting notes were wonderful, but I feel like I was duplicating a lot of notes, so I'm not sure. All right, still in the progress of like making decisions for 2026 again. So what I'm going to be doing here is just kind of leaving this cover like it is and just redating, because I really didn't use it until like September, I think. So like the first 8 months are like completely empty, and I'm just going to redate, I think, and use this for 2026. I don't know if I'm going to use it for work though. Again, still have to make decisions, but definitely wanted to show you this next in terms of like where my planners are, because I definitely use this pretty much every day for tracking my work. And so what we're going to do is get into my specialty planners now. My specialty planners are for sure the ones where I'm kind of like spotty in using them. Some of them I have used quite a bit, and some I haven't used at all. So we'll definitely get into that and show you those. Okay, I'm just jumping from the very top, right? The very first one that was on the top was this budget planner. Now in October, I did not do a good job of using it, as you can see here. But this is essentially a like micro size where it's 3 by 4 inches. And I use it just to track my expenses. I actually love decorating this too. So I'm going to go through, I'm really going to try to get back into it to decorate it and use it. I already have a very similar planner, which I did unbind and punch for discs. So it's a disc bound version of this, but I'm going to be using that for 2026. Again, still expense tracking, and, you know, just having fun with it. But I love the size. I love using it to track my expenses. I have been really kind of, I guess not on the ball of like tracking my expenses in here, but I've tried, and I just love the whole thing. So I'm excited to finish out the year in this. Definitely going to try to get back into it for November, because I made that same commitment in October and did not do a good job. But this is my expense tracker. It's kind of like a micro horizontal that I use to track my expenses. So that is still going to continue in November. Okay, this next one is my my food log. All right, and so I have like a ton of notes in here. I still just pretty much just left everything in here, but this is an outdated teacher layout. So it looks like this is the teacher layout that I have already redated for 2025, and I'm just tracking my food and like physical health symptoms. And so it's mostly chronologically, so it'll be like breakfast, morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, and I track any physical health symptoms or any like self-care slash beauty items in here. So that's kind of what I do in here. I again did not do a great job in October. Definitely look at my flip through for October to see that, but I've got it dated for November, and I've got it redated for October as well. I mean, sorry, December. And I redate across the top here, so I just kind of ignore this side. And I just love the size here. In terms of functionality, it works really well to have the extra space for myself. Yeah, I just need to get back into it to do it. So this is my food log slash physical health symptoms tracker or planner. Okay, the next one here is my family planner. And so this one I actually did try to get in here and use in October. But what we have is a lake and loft planner. All right, let's get in here so I can show you. It's kind of a weird mix right now, but you know, I tend to throw things together and just Frankenstein it for real. Like it's definitely Frankenplanned. But this lake and loft planner is, of course, the divider. It has like monthly goals here, which I'm using to track pretty much like family goals for Thanksgiving. November, it will be a lot of Thanksgiving notes in here. Right, and then there's a monthly budget, which, I mean, I don't really use that. The monthly planner, for October, I just kind of decorated it and made it fun. But what I use this for is to track any major events with my extended family. So these are normally not things that I attend. So for example, my nieces and nephews, they might have big like band events or like sports events. I might not be able to attend it, but I like to know about it. And so I write those things in here. My siblings, they might be on a trip, or they might have big announcements that they just announce to us, and so I write those types of things in here. I also do use this to track my friends, so any big Facebook announcements or any big news items that I receive through text messages, I kind of transfer all of my texts, or like the important texts here, so that way I can keep track of it. And you know, it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it, kind of like a quadrant where it's Monday through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays together, right, all over it, and just kind of keep track of all the things that are happening in my family and friends' lives. So that's what I'm using this for. I do have this through I guess like September, because I started this in October. So I'll be redating for 2026 and just trying to use up that stuff. I also have in here lots of other things that I can use. But I did set this on expander discs that are big, so that way everything can kind of hang together, even if it's kind of like weird random sizes that you can kind of see in there. So I do still have my family planner, still going strong. Again, this is very similar to October, so I still have this in my lineup, and definitely watch October to see how well I used it. So that one is my family planner. Okay, the next little one is my social media planner. This is a horizontal planner from Bloom Daily Planners. And so you can see here it's outdated. I actually got this from Go Wild 2024, not 2025, even like more than a year ago. And so I'm just redating it essentially, and just kind of writing all the YouTube videos, Instagram, that kind of thing that happens for October, and really, you know, since the summer, I've been really inconsistent with YouTube and Instagram, and so I've been trying to get back into it, but also giving myself grace. I'm not really trying to pressure myself to like record every day. It's just been really nice to have a slower schedule for YouTube. And so for 2026, for sure, I'm really reconsidering what I'm doing for YouTube. I'll have some ideas for that. I should record that video maybe November or December for what I'm going to be doing for 2026. I'm still thinking about it. But I've got this here. I'm trying to use out these pages just because, you know, I don't like to waste the pages. So I've just been using it. I've got in here my my notes for 2026 planners too. So I've been referencing this quite a bit. I just haven't been writing in it. But this is my social media planner. I also have my faith coloring book, which is not really a planner. It's just mostly like a coloring book. And so I've just kind of randomly been picking a page that speaks to me during church, or like we're going through Genesis this year. And so I'll obviously be following along with whatever chapters and verses that we are doing for our sermon study. But also sometimes like during Sunday school, we're not in Genesis, but there might be something that connects to Genesis. So I try to find pages related to that. My girls like to be in here coloring. And I am going to, I don't know in November, December if it's going to happen, but I've been trying to like get in here Monday through Saturday and taking notes in here too. We're definitely trying to wrap up Genesis pretty soon. And so excited to continue moving into something else. For 2026, I'm going to, I think, do something very similar. It just will not be Genesis. So at some point I will kind of like wrap this one up. I might still leave it in my Bible bag for my girls to color at church. But yeah, still thinking about that. 2026, hopefully you're hearing. I'm still in process of like trying to figure out what to do. But for November for sure, I will have this in my Bible bag. We'll be taking it to church for sure. And we'll see if I get into it anytime, Monday through Saturday during the month of November. But this is just kind of my coloring book for my faith studies. Okay, and then last but not least is my leadership planner. So this planner actually was one of the ones I kind of used pretty well, I think, in October. But it is a planner that is a dashboard layout. And so I have like kind of a weird mix because I started with redating it and doing some things early in 2025. Then I picked up a like a clearance planner at Michael's, and I decided just to move everything in here. And so it is a current planner, but I did use stickers because that's what I was doing at the beginning of 2025, and I just wanted it to be consistent. So it is already redated for November. I think I might have redated December too. But this is, again, like this weird thing where this one I redated using the Simply layout, I think. Actually, no, maybe not. Okay, so I must have run out of Simply layout pages. So I just was redating random caregiver pages that I had. But mostly I just use this right-hand side. Sometimes I use this left-hand side. But mostly it's this right-hand side where I'm tracking my volunteer experiences, events, any notes that I have. I get a lot of texts and emails related to volunteering and leadership related stuff. And so all of those kind of end up on this side somewhere. I will use this side if I need to, but mostly it's just tracking all of the different events. And all of these events here do end up in my catch-all as well. So the way that my specialty planners work in conjunction with my catch-all is everything goes to my catch-all, and then my specialty planners kind of break it down in more detail. So even with something like, for example, my budget or expense tracker, I will put in my catch-all errands, and of course errands usually involve some type of money, and so I'll be able to see that if I have a notes like errands, there's going to be something in my expense tracker related to those errands. And so that's just kind of how I work, where it does get duplicated in my catch-all and then in a specialty planner usually. But yeah, so I have walked through very, very quickly the November planners that I've got going. So of course I have my leadership planners. This leadership planner, I have my 2 holiday planners. I've got my faith coloring book. I've got my family planner, my food log, right, social media, expense tracker, my work planner, and then the 2 planners that I use for my personal catch-all system. So it was a lot of planners to go through. I do think that I went through it very, very quickly, so I apologize for the speed of it. But I hope you enjoyed everything that you were able to see today. Again, not really anything changing from October to November, but I love recording these videos, so definitely wanted to continue the trend, even if nothing changed. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, and until the next video, bye guys.